Okay, here we are.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
And welcome to what we're calling the Royal Edition today of Finding Yourself with ADD. I'm Sari Solden, and this is Regina Carey. I think it's a very royal and regal name, and we're happy to be here with you on our own little edition of celebrating in royal style here.
Yes. We just forgot our tiaras today.
Oh, that's
Sorry.
right, and our hats. So I thought I watched the wedding this morning. Did you watch it, Regina? And I think it was we've been saying it was a perfect theme for what we're going to talk about today, which is hiding. I know many of you with ADD hide a lot, and certainly there's a lot of connection to what we saw today, what that must be like to have that amazing public persona and having your own private experiences and your own private struggles. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that first, and then we've gotten questions from many of you already or in comments about your own experiences with hiding, and Regina and I will be commenting on that. But Regina's going to be looking at Facebook as well as the chat on Ustream, as well as Facebook, so you can join in on any of those mediums. And Regina, you want to talk about how to do that? Or
the chat should be up on the side, and Ustream has added a new component where you can sign into the chat using your Facebook account, or if you have a Ustream username, you can sign in that way. So they made it easy. If you haven't already, if you don't have an account, it's easy enough to set one up quickly on Ustream, but it might just be easier to email or post to the Facebook page, whatever your choice is.
And we're going to, if you have to leave or you want to tell somebody or watch this again, it'll be saved up on the website, addjourneys.com. Oh, and if you look at the website, Regina's posted a beautiful royal wedding picture, and we're having a one-day sale all day today for the royal wedding sale of $50 for a whole year membership. Today I sound like public radio, but we also wanted to have some fun, and so for the half hour after this broadcast, from 12:30 to 1 Eastern Time, the sale is just $30 if you join during that half hour, because we're so happy that you've joined us during this broadcast. We really need your participation and love the support you've been giving us. So, okay, Regina, why don't you go over to your post and let me just say a few more things about hiding. And I was very touched during the wedding because the person who gave the sermon, I don't know what you call him, bishop or whatever, he said some beautiful things, I think, that are important for the themes that we're always talking about here. The fact that he said the point of life and marriage is to develop your true self as fully as possible, and that's obviously what we believe in too, and what's so important about living a successful life with ADD. He also said that the point of marriage, and I'll say the point of life with these difficulties, is not to reform but to transform. And again, I thought that was so helpful, that the point is not to change yourself into some other kind of person, but to transform your difficulties, your struggles into something meaningful. And again, I think that what was so visible or invisible in the room but palpable was this idea of you could go through so many hardships and losses and adversity and transform those into something meaningful and beautiful, as you know, certainly Prince William has done. But I think that was also the takeaway message that we all have to remember, that we can transform our losses that come inevitably with life and come out of it if we keep our vision on who we truly are. So I think that was very healing in that way. So today we're going to talk about hiding, and as Regina said to me as we slanted the camera over that way, oh, our bookshelf over there is pretty messy, and I said, good. This is a program on not hiding, so I wanted to show her there's my messy bookshelf, and that's just a little window into the reality of living with ADD. I've been thinking a lot about hiding lately, how people hide with ADD and these kind of vulnerabilities, hide their difficulties, hide their differences, and unfortunately, along with that, the price of that is often hiding your gifts. If you're keeping yourself hidden from the world, if you're withdrawing from people, avoiding people, you're also going to, because you're so afraid of being exposed for what you consider a failing, you also then keep your strengths hidden and keep your gifts hidden, keep your true personality, your true self hidden. And you don't want to live life keeping those important parts of yourself hidden. So some of the questions I got were about thinking that I meant you had to go around telling everybody you had ADD or not hiding your ADD. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying boundaries, privacy are all very important. Choosing safe people are important. But that's different than what sometimes develops as hiding in a more pernicious way the true part of who you are, in an effort to protect yourself. Sometimes we overprotect ourselves. We keep ourselves, as one woman told me lately, in sort of this bubble wrap, keeping ourselves away from hurt and more pain and possible humiliation, but also keeping her away from life and from opening up and being seen and known and heard. And that's the takeaway message that I hope you get today, is that for the next week, I'd like you to think about that and try to take one small step toward being a little bit more seen, known, or heard for who you are in total, not just to let people know about your ADD. Because, of course, we're more than our struggles. We're also the totality of who we are, our hopes, our dreams, our character, our positive attributes, our strengths, what we give to the world. And that's really the key, I think, moving ahead with ADHD, and to stop hiding in the negative way, is to find people who can see you, find people who can support you, and find ways that you can start to see yourself by experiencing more success in life, not just focusing on your negative, the negatives, the difficulties. You have to bring more of yourself into the foreground, more of the stuff you're good at. Identify with people. I know it's just so therapeutic as I see people meeting other people with the same struggles and the same strengths, that they can finally identify and meet people who are more like them. So I will get to some of the other points as we get to these questions, but I did have some questions already that came in. And this first one was from a member who actually wrote in, said that she's, when we asked for comments and questions about experiences with hiding, this woman says that she's lucky to have a very open and accepting family and a significant other who don't judge her, and to whom she feels safe revealing even her quote-unquote embarrassing errors, as she says. She says she does, however, feel the need to protect herself from judgment with others. And that's the people that she doesn't feel so safe with. And she does this by not getting involved in things that she feel will expose her differences, such as long-term commitments to organizations. And she says this limits the opportunities for me to form new connections and friendships. Ray, do you want to come over here while we discuss these questions?
Sure.
But I know that you feel a lot about these issues also. But you know what I found, that she really states this beautifully. The point about overprotecting yourself. You can protect yourself so that people don't see your differences and your difficulties, but then you're not able to let yourself move toward opportunities and contributions and connections that actually might allow you to use your strengths. And this is always a dilemma for people with ADHD, to find a way. And often I tell people, like I have one woman who's a client who's the president of an organization, but she feels so overwhelmed by some of these duties, because she's not really acting toward her strengths. She's trying to do all this stuff she's not good at. I said she has to give herself a true promotion, let herself really be president, and she has all these people working under her who can do these other tasks very easily, and they're good at it, but she feels, oh no, she has to do everything, and what would it mean for her to get support?
Right, and let me throw out a little strategy here. At the end of when you are a part or running some of these organizations, whether it's parent-teacher organization or something through church or something through, a professional organization that you're a part of, one wonderful way to end a meeting is to say, for the last 3 minutes, we're going to go around the table and everyone share what action they're going to do when they leave this room. How are you going to move forward on our goals and mission as an organization? What is your action? And everybody, it's amazing when you are in charge to hear that everybody around that table is going to go out and do something. And it's usually one thing that you were thinking about doing, or you had on your list, somebody else is going to take it. And it gives them a sense of responsibility and an opportunity to open up and share their gifts. So it's a great, easy to do, and it takes stress off you.
Exactly. You know, by you hiding, and you deprive people of not only your gifts but of their own opportunity to give to you and to give to the organization and contribute their skills. And he said something good. When people with ADD, if you can get in positions of being in charge, sometimes you can do wonderfully well. So you want to actually move up in these organizations and let other people support you too. Now the other, another woman writes that she supposes the ways I've been hurt are all the ways that I feel I have hurt others. She says broken promises, late birthday presents, late everything. I want so much to be the person who isn't late anymore. And I know we both felt sad about this, because to me, this person, again, is not seeing herself in totality. She's saying she wants to be the person who isn't late anymore. If that's come to define her totality, rather than, yes, I'm late sometimes, I also have, I'm also the person that contributes in this way, or I'm also, the warmest person, or the person that my, nieces and nephews love to be around when I come, even though I'm late. Or there's a whole story that's become very narrow, and she's got to work at broadening that out by not hiding all of her good qualities too that she does enjoy.
Right, and one of the things that came to my mind as soon as I saw this was my children cannot wait. They're excited for the gifts that come late, or the cards that come late, or the phone calls that come late, because there's something special and precious about that time when you really are paying attention to that person and their presence, or what they have to say, their presence as in being present. But it's a special gift, even though it's not there when everybody else is. There's something wonderful about it, because it's when all the chaos is gone, or all the excitement is gone, and then if you arrive in that time where it's peaceful, it's an opportunity to really enjoy the moment.
Right, like we were saying, like she's there when you're there when everybody else is gone. I've got a lot of clients who feel bad that they didn't come visit, the day somebody had lost somebody, or the day there was a death of a friend's husband, but then, a week later everybody's gone, and this person then comes in when someone really needs them. So that's not to say you don't work on your lateness, but you have to work on, accepting some of these challenges and not defining yourself and measuring your whole worth as a person only by that. And I think that's an important takeaway here.
I'm going to check our boards here.
Okay. Well, I have one more question on this too. She says, another woman says, lately I'm seeing that I'm very self-protective. Perhaps it's because I'm just starting to accept my ADD and feel very fragile and vulnerable because of this. I've used hiding as a survival tactic many times over the years. I know it's unhealthy to keep others at a distance, but sometimes it's just easier. It's draining to keep up with everything I feel coming at me sometimes. I'm starting to see, though, that it's okay to take care of myself this way if I need to. She says, I don't always have to put myself out there if it isn't necessary, and I don't have to prove myself anymore. And she says something very important. She says there's a difference, she realizes, between being protective of myself and hiding. It's a relief, really. And I think she speaks to this point of what you're going for is healthy self-protection. We all have to have boundaries. We all have to choose safe people. We have to decide, though, healthy self-protection and good boundaries versus just walled-off defense or no defense and letting people run all over us is this idea of permeable boundaries. We can let in who we want to. We can not let in who we don't want to. We can go out when we want to. We can come. It's like a gate on a fence rather than a huge wall. So the point here is choice. It's not that you have to be open all the time or get out there. You have choice, and you're choosing to take care of yourself, or you're choosing to get out there, but you're not walled in. You have the choice as to what's good for you. Is there anything over there you wanted to, Regina, something come in on that email?
Yes, we've got, we have another question that came in, and I'm going to get over here so you can hear me.
Okay. Let me see you.
There we go. This is a question from Deb, who says this is a difficult topic, and she's feeling like she has to escape her life in order to move forward. And this is her question. When can I carve time out for myself? It's so depressing. All I want to do is cry. It's like I've disappeared and I'm floating in space without even a hope of finding my North Star. Sometimes I think all these responsibilities I have are a justifiable excuse for not moving forward, something I desperately want to do. Why am I so unable to see myself anymore?
You know, and that's sort of the hardest part of hiding, the most difficult part of hiding. Sure, you can hide from other people, but what I find, especially with women, is that often they've hid from themselves so long, they've hidden for years, maybe just trying to focus so much on staying afloat, but focusing on other people's needs, that they're unable to even be in touch anymore with who they are, what they want, what they need. Women are just amazed when you ask them that question. They actually say, I've never asked myself that question. They say, surprisingly, I don't know what I want. I don't know what I need. I don't know what to move forward to. So this idea that Deb expresses, she's so unable to see herself anymore, means that she's hidden so much from herself, her true desires, her true wants, her true needs. And this is the result of hiding for so many years, afraid to show yourself, afraid to take that risk, because often people with ADD have been so wounded because of their differences. They've either been ignored or humiliated or feel invisible or been laughed at or rejected, a whole host of experiences sometimes with these kind of vulnerabilities. So people, little by little, gradually submerge their true self. And as Deb said, eventually you can't connect to it anymore. And as she's talking about, there's so many demands that she feels swallowed up, and she's waiting to carve out time for herself, and that's not going to come. You have to take it. And Reg, you probably know a lot about this. You're in a busy time of your own life. Do you have anything to say about this?
Yeah, you absolutely. You need to know when your best time is, and for many of us who are mothers, that morning time prior to everybody getting up and starting the day is the best time. And you have to remind yourself. I'm a big believer in the visual. And if you remind yourself, get up, get moving, do something that's going to motivate you into some action to take care of yourself in the morning, whether it's meditating or yoga or reading, whatever it may be. And another good practice is to write down questions. There's a book called How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci or
like
Michelangelo, maybe, I don't, but you,
Leonardo,
I think it is, but you sit and you do nothing but ask questions. And some of those questions might be, is this really what I want to be doing? What is my body telling me? Ask the questions that sort of force you to sit with yourself for a little bit and figure out what it is you want. And then you'll start to see patterns develop, and those are the questions that need to be answered.
Exactly. And even if you take 1 hour for yourself during the week where you go out, if you don't even know what you want for the future, go out and journal for 1 week, or go walk around a bookstore and see what you're drawn to. Start to discover little clues. And I talk about this in the book Journeys. Sometimes you have to be conscious of these little clues. When do you get a pang? When do you get a little pain? Do you notice somebody doing something? Oh, that used to be what you wanted to do, or who you used to be, or so even paying attention to your pain. When do you notice it? And what does that mean? So it's sort of treasure clues back to yourself. You have to start trying to figure that out again. And sometimes you have to listen very quietly, to your inner signals about think about what you wanted as a child, what you used to, before all the stuff happened to you, when you were more free and you were a young girl, before you got all these messages and things got confused. Who were you then, and where is that inside of you now, so that you can move towards some current day form of that in your present life?
It's a great question. Thank you.
Okay. Well, there's just, this is a very interesting comment from a member who talks about sort of mild symptoms with ADD. And you'd think, just off the top of your head, oh, that would mean, okay, things would be easier that way. You wouldn't have to hide. And she had a really great point. And she said, actually, unfortunately, it's easier to hide when our other strengths are strong. And sometimes the fact that one's ADD is not so bad, one naturally hides it, or hides herself because she can. And that's a good point. So sometimes when we have these strengths, we hide our challenges even more. Sometimes it's, well, gee, people see all the strengths, I don't want to let them know, my problems. I've heard this from a lot of women who say, I would love to ask for support and ask for what I need, but how do I do that without people then starting to see me in this different way? I don't want to, disregard the fact that, or diminish their opinion of me. So how do you get support and still have people see you as competent and whole? And I think, again, that comes down to you have to see yourself that way first, and people usually take their cues from you. If you see yourself as strong, you're more willing for people to see you as having needs like everybody does. Then there was just one more question from somebody who was responding to a new member. And what's so nice on the site is when I see people really helping each other out. And so if you're looking for support, if you're looking for someone to understand you, this is what I see as such a great thing that happens on the site for members. This new member who wrote in, was just talking about her difficulties at work, difficulties feeling upset and humiliated, making blunders, all that stuff that sometimes happens to people. And she got this encouragement from another member who said to her, who could really see her, who could see her whole. And this member said to this other woman, you sound like a, quote, creative soul coming out of hiding. And it sort of reminded me of that image of the butterfly we always talk about. The butterfly is such a struggle to get out of their cocoon, instead of hiding in there. And they've done studies that show that butterflies that have been taken out and eat more easily, without the struggle, are not half as beautiful as the butterflies who've struggled to emerge from their hiding places. And when she says that, uses the same word, emerge, she says, perhaps that side of you can emerge to solve some problems for your bosses, for those people without the ability to think outside the box that this woman has. So she can see this woman's strengths and see her as whole, and that's the key that all of you have to remember in terms of hiding, that you might be thinking you're just hiding your difficulties, but sometimes you're also hiding from yourself and from others, as this woman says, that she wants you to remember that you need to value your courage, your compassion, and your creativity. She couldn't have said it better. And that's what I encourage you to do now. And you can just let me know if there's something else that comes up there. But in my book, ADD Journeys, some of you that the site is named for, actually, I have explorations at the end of each of these chapters in the book. That's my book all marked up in ADD fashion. And I have in your ear reflections for members that they can listen to, but without that you could just go to the back, and the first chapter has a whole exploration section to help you think about how you hide your differences. And it's sort of telling to think about that. You might not think about how do you handle these differences, and you might want to think about this. How do you talk about your needs or differences? Some of the choices are I don't talk about them, I hide them, I apologize, I lie, I withdraw, I put myself down, I over-explain, I try to convince people that I do have difficulties, and then there's a blank to put in your own words. So just becoming aware of all the situations you actually might hide in that you might not know. It might seem so natural to you. These things happen little by little that it's hard to, put this out there anymore. And I'm not saying go around talking about your ADD, but just being able to describe, this is difficult for me, or I'm good at that. Just be able to describe your needs, your wants, your difficulties. Just be honest more with yourself, and in a way that gives other people permission to talk about their own struggles. Another question I ask is, how do you move away from relationships as a result of your differences? Because hiding is not just about not telling or privacy. It means you can't really connect with people maybe that you want to, because you avoid them or withdraw them. You feel that you've disappointed them, like that woman who wrote in about being late all the time. That's not the end of it. What she probably is doing, which is what many adults with ADD do, they withdraw, if they avoid, if they think, oh, I was late to that, it's so shameful, I'm never going to see that person again. Or they start acting standoffish to people, and the people start thinking, oh, well, that you don't like them, and so you think it's about your ADD that people aren't approaching you anymore, but it's really maybe because you're preemptively, moving away from them. So you have to really become aware of these situations. Another choice I give in the book to think about is, do you avoid potentially embarrassing situations entirely? And that's what one of the members wrote in today about, that she just doesn't even put herself out there. And I ask in this chapter, do you neglect to pretend you don't have your differences, and feel disconnect and pretend around people so that you don't even feel close to people anymore? So I want you to, if you have a chance, if you have the book or you have the In Your Ear series, you can get in the store. Think about the ways that your differences might prevent you from connecting with other people that you really want to, or contributing in any way you want to. Regina, do you have anything else you want to add to? I might close in the last few minutes after our last question, if we have one, with something I wrote about the subject personally.
Okay, really quickly, I'd like to highlight something that on the website we started an idea garden, and I think this is kind of an interesting way to share and let yourself be seen. And we come up with ideas all the time. When you're driving, when you're in the shower, when you're on a walk, you come up with ideas, and part of growing is sharing your ideas with other people, getting feedback on them, and this is a safe place to do it. So check out the website, check out addjourneys.com, and you'll see a link for the Unveg with Reg on Wednesdays. If you go to that, you'll see the community garden, and everybody can comment on that. So
That's nice.
That way we can give each other some feedback and help these ideas grow.
And we also have a blog in the middle of the site. You don't have to be a member. There's a lot of things you can do without actually joining the community. And in the middle, we welcome your comments about themes. For instance, right up this month is still up there about hiding, and that's where a lot of these comments came. So you can read other people's stories, and you can join in the discussion, and we change that every month. But we really encourage you to get in there and share your ideas and let yourself be known and heard. And if that's the last one, I thought, well, we have a couple more minutes just so I can let myself be known. I thought I would model that by I put together a collection of my favorite essays that, they're available in the store, but these are things I've written over the last couple of years on the site, and they're sort of personal essays, and I realized I had written one on hiding my true self, and I thought, well, we have a couple minutes here that I might read this essay, if nobody minds. So, it's called Bagels, Lox, and Cream Cheese, with a little bit more of me mixed in. I wondered today after breakfast out with friends why I felt a little better than I usually did after these kinds of get-togethers. I reflected on other Sundays over bagels and lox when I hardly said a word, or if I did talk a lot, why I often came away with this vaguely uncomfortable feeling. No, I don't think it was the food. I think I had gotten into a habit, without even noticing, insidiously over the years, of just keeping more and more of who I was, or at least what I was struggling with, to myself. It wasn't that I was hiding deliberately anymore, and it wasn't out of shame anymore. But at some point in time, mostly when I was away from my ADD friends and colleagues, it had become easier just to hold back. Maybe, as Hope Langner, coach and expert in ADD and women, once put it, I had gotten tired of, quote, always having to say the hard thing, unquote. These hard subjects were subjects which in one way or another centered on how either I or someone in my family was just plain different. The explanation seemed to require a great deal of effort when speaking to people who I thought weren't as intimately familiar with differences. For adults with ADD, it's not always about the ADD itself that they're familiar with. It's often that along with ADD many times come children with ADD or other challenges, and families who, for many reasons, don't lend themselves to bite-sized descriptions easy to digest over a bagel and cream cheese on Sunday morning. The stories that many adults with ADD have to tell, as one person put it to me, are all, quote, long stories, unquote. So sometimes people, including me, get in the habit of swallowing down more of the truth, the twists and the turns, the challenges. In other words, a lot of the really interesting stuff. The point of conversations become to get through them without having to explain too much. Eventually, what you notice over the years with this kind of strategy, however, is that little pieces of you in your relationship get slowly nibbled away at. This can leave you with a vague sense of hiding and feeling disconnected and isolated, and it hurts your relationships. You may fear that revealing more of you may push people away, and in reality it might push away some people who you should leave behind. But in fact, counterintuitive as it might seem, when you're with someone you trust or want to become closer to, what actually makes you attractive to someone else is your capacity to be yourself. Your openness invites other people to tell their stories, to relax their guard, to reveal their vulnerability. They might have a different set of issues completely. They might not have any idea what you're describing when you talk about something related to ADD. But they'll take the cue from you that you're comfortable with yourself and you're strong enough to discuss your challenges without diminishing your value or your strengths. They'll understand that you're someone who they can trust and accept when it's time for them to tell their story. It's a great gift, a compliment, to trust someone enough to invite them in, not to dump on them, not to focus on only your problems or yourself. It's akin to opening up the door to your real self and giving someone else a sneak preview inside, not just of the neat front rooms, but the messy little secret areas that everyone has, ADD or not. So you may want to examine whether you have developed a habit of holding back a little too much because it's become easier. You may not have noticed over the years even. A little truth here, a little less of you there, a little silence here, a slice of you there. Choose carefully. Don't go overboard with disclosure or even the label of ADD. But at the right time, with the right people, you might consider mixing a little bit more of your real self in with the bagels, lox, and cream cheese. Everyone at the table will come away from a breakfast like that, not just full, but filled up as well. So this is Sari and Regina saying visit us at addjourneys.com and have a beautiful royal wedding day.